welcome to another episode of Conversations That Matter Most. My name is Claudette Chenevert, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Sharona. Hi, Sharona.
Hi, Claudette. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad we're here today to do another live episode of Conversations That Matter Most. Woo!
And today we're going to be talking about conflict, which is one of my favorite topics. I know I'm weird and, but that's who I am. I enjoy talking about conflict. I don't enjoy being in conflict, but I enjoy talking about it. What about you, Sharona?
I actually find conflict very interesting because, of how, especially for women, we're not really taught how to deal with conflict. And I know as I work with some midlife women dancing with change, conflict sometimes gets twisted into something that it's not. So I think today is a great conversation about, the wisdom of conflict, how to deal with conflict, and what conflict is and isn't. I think that would be a really awesome conversation to have.
I agree. And so just so if this is the first time you're with us and you're here and you're wondering what is this all about? Well, Sharona and I started this TV series, these episodes called Conversations That Matter Most, because we felt that we wanted to help people start conversations from a deeper perspective and open up the doors to connecting with other people. Now, our purpose isn't for you to agree or disagree with us. Our purpose is really to inspire you, to move you, to get you into talking about different topics. So if this is the first time that you're here, welcome. We're really happy to have you. And we invite you to look at our past episodes if you've not already listened to them. And if you've already been on our episodes, well, we're really happy to have you with us and have you encourage us. Now, if there are things that you would like for Sharona or myself to talk more a little bit, feel free to put comments below, send us emails, and we'll show you how to do that at the end of our episodes. So a little introduction as to who we are. My name is Claudette Chenevert, and I'm known as the Stepmom Coach. And I work with stepmoms primarily and some stepdads in helping them create and build stronger and healthier relationships within the step family. And if you're a stepmom or you're a stepdad, you understand that it's not easy and it can be sometimes pretty overwhelming in coming together. And so part of our conversations we have on Conversations That Matter Most target and discuss step family issues. So Sharona, tell us a little bit more about who you are and who you work with.
Okay. I am. Oh, suddenly I got a frog in my throat. Okay. Woo! That wakes you up. My name is Sharona, and I am the Midlife Women Dancing with Change specialist. And I focus on women dealing with the change and struggle of midlife, trying and helping them and supporting them and motivating, inspiring them to actually not just survive midlife and beyond, but thrive wholeheartedly in body, mind, and spirit. And we do that through, a series of conversations, of workshops, and things like that. So for me, and many a time, midlife women have dealt with divorce and then coming back into another family and becoming a stepmom, but a lot of times they don't. So that's why I know I and Colette feel even though we're talking about the same things, it works for women on a whole.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So, and again, today we're talking about the wisdom of conflict, and a lot of times, especially for midlife women, we're dealing not only with external conflict, but the internal conflict of who am I? What do I want now? What's important to me? And what is my purpose from this moment forward? So,
Yeah. And I love what you said, Sharona, about, not only external conflict, but internal conflict. And as a midlife woman, identity crisis, we're changing. Who are we? The kids are away from home. You're wondering, who am I now? As a stepmom, your roles change as your children move through your life. Or if you're a new stepmom, you're wondering, like, what am I doing now? Like, I was single, I was happy, I was a successful career woman. All of a sudden, I find myself being a stepmom to kids that are part of our lives, but yet they're not really a part of our life. So there's a lot of conflict that comes from this, right, Sharona? And
yes.
especially for women who are transitioning in different areas from career or, as you mentioned, divorce and things like this.
Right. And so, so let's talk a little bit about at this moment what conflict is and isn't. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with what conflict isn't. Conflict is not about having a brawl in the street. Conflict is not about violence. Conflict is not about doing insane tweets or Facebook posts, and that's not what conflict
No,
is
we
about.
call that bullying, right?
Bullying, yes. This is not about bullying. What conflict, and Claudette, you can add to this, but my simple, and as a midlife woman, I'm trying to keep everything simple and single task. I'm not trying to do any more multitasking. Anyway, so the simple version for me is conflict is a difference in a perspective, and a belief and an opinion.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a different, we all don't see the same things in the same way. We don't view life in the same way. And the other thing too for me is conflict is about sometimes when where anger sometimes come in is when a personal boundary is crossed.
Yeah.
And so then conflict rises from that. What's your views?
Yeah, definitely. So you shared some really great points. Conflict, we're not talking about brawls here, or as you mentioned, like fist fights. That's not conflict. That's like power struggles and taking over someone else's space and person. So, and I loved your definition. So my definition, or if I can add to the definition you just shared, is it's an expressed struggle. So it's either an internal or an external issue that we're having, and we're expressing it. And conflict happens, as you mentioned, when there's misunderstanding, when we're having a conversation, and it sometimes it happens just really out of the blue, right? Really simple. It could be like, I'm saying something to you about, I really need to get to that post office to send that package out. And you're wondering, like, well, why are you so pissy about it? Like, why are you frustrated about it? And then it starts this conversation. Then we're bringing things from the past or from other conversation. In other words, we're bringing in the kitchen sink, right?
Yes.
And let's be politically incorrect here. Like, women tend to bring the kitchen sink in conversations when we're having arguments. I'm not saying men don't, But let's say that oftentimes women are bringing things from the past and bringing in a whole bunch of stuff that are not related to the conversation you're having at this moment. And so it creates even a bigger conflict, a bigger misunderstanding. And then you're feeling like you need to defend yourself. You need to feel like I have to stand my ground and prove that I'm right.
Yeah, I thank you, Claudette. I appreciate what you just said because I personally, there's a couple of things that came to mind, and as a woman, I know again we aren't trained to deal with um, anger. We're not trained to deal or taught how to deal with misunderstandings or express what we need because again we're taught that we need to take on everybody else and we're not taught to put in boundaries for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So there's something I want to share real quick with our audience. It's called a pinch crunch. And I will find there is a diagram how this works. So I'll do my best to make it a chair dance so that we get to see how the heck this works. Okay, so something happens, like you said, Claudette, that we're having a misunderstanding in the moment. What we tend to do is we bury it. That's why we have a tendency to bring in everything and the kitchen sink to a conflict. So the first time that happens in our body, we might hear that, that what I call that, wait, something's wrong. There's a pinch. It feels like a pinch has happened. Now, you either address that pinch, which would be the healthy and the wise way to do it in the moment, or you suppress it, and then resentment and stuff starts building up, and then something else triggers something later on, and it becomes a crunch. That's basically a pinch crunch. So and I think I know for midlife women, and I'm sure with stepmoms, because we're not setting healthy boundaries, what's happening is we're not at that moment of the pinch, we're not saying, you know what, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the real thing that we need to, or something that, again, keep it simple. When the boundary is crossed, it means that it's either working or not working for me. And all we have to say is, this isn't working for me. Can we try something different?
Yeah.
But we're afraid about hurting other people and not being loved. So we don't set healthy boundaries. What do you think about that, Claudette?
You're spot on. A lot of times is like we're trying to be people pleasers.
Yes.
We're trying, and they see this with stepmoms. I see this with stepdads. I see this with a lot of people and midlife women. As we grow older, depending on how we dealt with issues before, we either say like the hell with us, and I'm going to do whatever I want. And then you're creating other kinds of conflict. Or you're like, oh, I want everybody to love me, and I'm just going to do everything to please other people. And then that's other issues.
Right.
So there needs to be a balance, a middle ground, right? And what is the best way to deal with this? And I loved your analogy of a pinch crunch because, it's true. It starts with a little pinch, a little nudge. It's like you feel like, something's not right. And you feel this in your gut, right? It's like a gut feeling.
Yes.
And then from the gut, it goes into your heart. And then you're like, oh, I can't breathe anymore. Like, I feel like I'm suffocating. And then it goes to your head and like you're about to explode. And then this is where it gets out of control.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, so again, conflict is about, people who feel like they've lost control of their lives. They're feeling like they must justify what they're doing. And then this is where we lead into arguments. And so we're going beyond conflict now. Now we're going into arguments and more like resentment and anger. Because we let something very small grew inside of us. You know the phrase, taking a molehill and creating a mountain out of it?
Yes, yes.
So that's exactly what's happening. We
Mhm.
let it accumulate inside of us, and we're creating a mountain out of a molehill.
Yes.
What should have been a molehill is now a mountain.
Mountain. And it's very hard to
Um,
move mountains.
yes, it is. It's hard to move mountains, but it is possible by doing little steps,
Steps.
like
Yes.
really small steps, right?
Right.
Another thing I want to address about, conflict is also that we have set for ourselves unrealistic expectations.
Mm.
How often have we had some disagreements because we set unrealistic expectations, whether it's about ourselves personally, or about our relationships, about work, career? What are your thoughts on this, Sharona?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's, I agree with that. I think there's this, what frustration is expectations not coming to fruition. So
Mm-hmm.
we set out these expectations that we think is possible, but it's really, here's the thing is, what I'm learning as I'm journeying down this path of my life is, what I can do to help me not get into that cycle of frustration and expectations and conflict is, do my best, do the actions that need to happen, whatever steps that need to happen, and let go of the outcome. I have no
Yeah.
control of how it's going to land over there. And and which ties back into not speaking up for ourselves when we're in a pinch, is because we're trying to control the other people and
Yeah.
the outcome. And that also happens internally, is we have a tendency of putting these, it's like, oh, I'm going to go lose 50 pounds and da, 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 da. And then the first day we start going, no, I don't want to do this. It's because we're making it harder than it has to be.
Yes, I agree.
Right? Yeah. So my new phrase is, again, keep it simple. For me, keep it simple and single task. Just focus on what you need to focus on in that moment. Um, and I know there's another technique about how to deal with conflict. What is that? I think you were going to talk about
So,
that, about taking the steps, and I
so,
like this.
so I have an acronym, and it's called STEP into conflict.
I
Like
love
you're
it.
thinking,
I
like,
love
I'm
it.
gonna step into conflict, right? Yes.
Right.
So there are four things. So the S stands for seek to understand,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then be understood.
Mm-hmm.
E is for empathize with the others.
Mm-hmm.
And then P is problem solve.
Awesome. Awesome.
And so I'd like to just like take each step
Yes.
and talk a little bit about them, right?
Right.
Seek to understand. Like, everyone wants to know that we're being heard, right?
Mhm. Right.
I think that when we take the time to listen to someone, and that other person feels understood, we're calming the other person, we're calming the situation, we're feeling a lot better, and then we know we can express what's going on for us with the other person.
Yes. And I think one of the things is, when we say seek to understand, doesn't mean I am giving up my position. It's about, I think, I like to use it as if we are on a tennis court, they get to explain on their side of the net, and then I'm going to listen, not script my response to what they're saying, but I'm going to listen and really hear not just what they're saying, but the energy underneath the words. Right. And we
Yeah.
do. There's a lot of nonverbal communication when we speak to each other. So listen for that. So I just wanted to throw that in, because a lot of times, again, for as women, when we're taught to seek to understand, it's like, oh my God, I got to listen to this, and and then
When's my turn, right?
when is my turn? And it's just about, no, I'm going to listen to what you're saying, really hear it. I might even ask a couple clarifying questions, but I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to take it personally. And I think one of the ways to do that is I statements. When this happens, how it impacts me. When this is how it impacts me. Not, you are driving me crazy. No, that's an attack. Okay, exactly. So I statement, bring it back to my side of the court, and you listen to their side. Then you bring it back to yours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And conversations and communication is more than just words. The body language is there.
Yes.
So, have eye contact. Listen with your entire body.
Oh, great.
And don't be scripting as the other person is talking.
Right. Don't get to, what's the word? Don't get defensive.
Yes. Don't start putting up your
dukes.
Your dukes here and get, okay, my turn, right?
Right.
So the second step is then be understood, right?
Right.
Now, when you're seeking for the other person to understand you, that means you need to be vulnerable. You need to be sharing some of your emotions that are going on for you. Communication and conversation is a two-way street. If you're just blasting something to another person, your job is to make sure that other person is understanding what you're saying, not just blurting that whatever you want and hoping the other person gets what you're saying.
Right. And I think this goes back to, this is what's going on for me. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm feeling. And I agree. It's about being vulnerable. It's about saying, I'm going to put the wall down. I'm going to trust that what I have to say is important and matters, because it's about me and my experience. And that's a lot of things that sometimes I'm sure stepmoms do, but midlife women do, is we don't think what we have to say is valuable or important enough. And it's enough. Just expressing, what, I feel upset right now because this is, whatever that is, again, on my side of the net.
Yeah, definitely. I love that, to express ourselves, and the tennis court. The next one is E for empathize with others. Now, there's been conversations about empathy. I hear it. I'm starting to hear it more and more often. Empathy is not sympathy. No. It's not the same thing, right?
Right.
Sympathy is I'm sorry for you type of thing.
Right. I'm so sorry. Empathy is more of, oh yeah, I get it. I've been there. I've been where matter of fact, I'm right there with you now. And that is that, I just got chills. That's that connection between human beings. Mm-hmm. Right. Sympathy is, I'm so sorry. And that just puts a whole on the conversation, right?
Yeah. It does. And it distances you from the other person as well.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't bring you closer. It puts a distance between you. Mm-hmm. So that when you're empathizing with the other person, you're letting that person know that you may not have walked in their shoes, but you can understand and feel sadness, anger, frustration, disappointment. You're sharing emotions, and you're willing to be a part of this person's life and support them and help them deal with whatever they're going through.
Yes. And another thing for our people pleasers, doesn't mean I'm going to fix it for them.
Exactly.
Just want to put that out there. We're not fixing it. We're not making it better. And we're just listening to and empathizing. There's a saying, been there, done that. Same thing. I've been there. I might not have the exact same experience, but I agree with you, Claudette. I know sadness. I know happiness. I know grief. So it's all that in there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And being able to provide a shoulder for
Yeah.
that other person to be there with,
Yes.
like that shoulder, that ear, to be there for that other person.
Right.
And then finally, P is problem solve. Like, this is where brainstorming and looking for solutions could be a possibility. And it doesn't mean you have to solve the problem right then and there, right? You could say, let me think about it. Let's, verbulate, as you love to say, Sharona. Let's verbulate about it. Now, there's something very powerful about our brains that when we give it some space and some room to go through our brain process, to think back to some of the things we've dealt with in the past or that we've heard about from other people, it could trigger responses for us ourselves and say, wow, what if I tried this strategy instead of arguing about it?
Yeah, and Claudette, I agree with that. And I think one of the things with because when we hear problem solve, I want to go back to, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just trying, I think it's more about negotiating. What will work for me? So again, part of conflict is negotiating what will work for you, and then listen what will work for me, and then find that place of center
that middle ground,
that
right?
middle ground that we can all work within that and work within those parameters. And here's something for midlife women, just to throw this out there. Again, we've been on this planet for a certain amount of time, right? We can use that wisdom of living on this planet for a certain amount of time to bring in our strengths and skills of listening and negotiating and working through. So let's use those hidden talents of how we help, another person, but also how to help ourselves to negotiate what's going to work best for everyone involved, even my internal self in the moment. So, and I like the fact that, and I also like what you said about taking the time. I don't have to solve the problem right now, but I can say in that moment, you know what? Let's go away for a few hours or 24 hours, whatever that is, make an agreement and then come back to the conversation. Because a lot of times, I don't know about you, we say, okay, well, think about it. And then 3 weeks later, we're still not. Yeah. So,
or years later in some situation,
Yeah, that's true. So make an agreement of when we're going to come back and solve this.
Yes. Yeah, because unresolved conflict will grow into resentment, and then it goes beyond being a conflict, and it goes beyond, it breaks a relationship. Sure. And think about, how important is this relationship to you? Like, if it's really important to you, whether it's with another person or even with yourself, like if you really value that relationship, put the time and energy you need to make it whole again and find a way to resolve those differences. And as you were talking about, midlife women, stepmoms go through quite a few of these conflicts, especially when it comes to raising their stepkids, because they come from a different culture. And I love to call them cultures because, we have micro cultures. Yes. We've grown in our families, and they're micro cultures, micro communities within our homes. And so bringing those micro cultures together, those micro communities together, it's impossible to agree on everything. There's bound to be some conflict. Like, a simple example, and I've used this for forever: putting the dishes in the dishwasher. Yes. My husband does the dishes for me. I am blessed. But Do you think that I could just shut up and say thank you? No.
No.
I have to be complaining about the way he puts the dishes. Now, we
Mhm.
don't anymore, but it was a big conversation, and it was simple. Like, you're not putting the dishes the way I put the dishes. Well, no, like, we're not the same. So this is an example, and there's bigger issues than dishes in dishwashers, obviously. But it's a matter of how seeing things, right? We see things differently. We don't do things the same way. We have our way of living, of coming together, of living our lives. And so that creates conflict, and that's normal. And so as we are getting to the end of our show, I just want to say, Sharona, what are some of your one favorite tip you would like for your midlife women to remember about dealing with conflict?
I think, and thank you, Claudia. One of the things I realized, we covered a lot today in this 30 minutes. We talked about, the pinch crunch. We talked about what conflict is and it is, and I like that. It's expressed struggle and a misunderstanding. Also, we went through the step into conflict. Seek to understand, then be understood, empathize, and then problem solve. So I think one of the things that I think tip so there's a lot, and again, you all audience members, you will find your own tips or own strategies to try, not just hear them, but actually take them into your life and try. But I think the one that really helps me to remember is that I have to remember that we have a voice and we get to express what our struggle is with another person or even with ourselves. What we have to say is valuable and matters.
Yeah, thank you. And part of what one of the things I want people to remember is that it takes two to have like a disagreement, to have a conflict. And sometimes it could be just an unrealistic expectation you had about the way things ought to be or should be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so ask yourself, what's my contribution to this conflict, and how can I help resolve this conflict?
Right.
And if you are struggling with some conflict, whether it's as a midlife woman or as a stepmom, we would love to talk with you about ways to help you deal with these conflicts. And
so Claudette, how can they get in touch with you if they're a stepmom and they go, I'm having my life feels very conflicted right now. How can I, how can they reach you, Claudette?
Well, thank you, Sharona. And so if you're a stepmom or a stepdad and you're dealing with conflict and you're having a hard time, putting your life back together, and you really want to solve these issues, contact me at Claudette@stepmomcoach.com. You can also go to my website, which is stepmomcoach.com. And if you use hashtag stepmomcoach, you'll find me on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram. And I'll be happy to help you with your struggles. And so, Sharona, if I am a midlife woman, but if we have midlife women here who are looking to increase happiness and dance in their midlife, what can they do? How can they reach you?
Okay, thank you, Claudette. So you can reach me at dancingwithchange2thrive.com, or that's my website, or email me at Sharona@dancingwithchange2thrive.com. You can find me on Google Plus and on Facebook under Midlife Women Dancing with Change. Woo! And and then you can use Twitter to find at Dancing with Change. So again, if you are a midlife woman and you feel like you're just getting by, you're just surviving midlife, and you really want to thrive wholeheartedly in body, mind, and spirit, contact me. Or if you're just, struggling with some internal conflict, external conflict, contact me. And for all of you, subscribe to our channel so that you can get updates and when our next episode will be happening, and then look at our past episodes. Also, comment, share your thoughts with us. Again, it's not about agreeing and disagreeing. It's about just giving you the stepping stone. Here we go, stepping off, to have conversation with meaning in your own life.
Mhm.
So I want to thank everybody today. I'm glad everyone showed up. I'm glad I showed up. Claudette, I'm glad you showed up. Otherwise, I would just be talking to myself, which I do actually anyway. So there you go.
So again, thank you, everyone. Thank you for another wonderful episode on Conversations That Matter Most. And looking forward to seeing you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.